work from home, to wear masks, and to socially distance from each other. It was technology that played the role of the savior. It is an age of realization, an age where we realize that technology is indispensable, an age where life as we know it began to change. The traditional modes of communication, commerce, teaching, learning process, data, and its management all gave way to the emergence of newer technologies. Classes were conducted using that. Commerce was done in that. Who would have thought that about an age where our classrooms would shrunk into the very device that was once used for leisure? The artificial intelligence and the new avenues that were forced open in this age shows the indomitable human spirit. This is our victory. Sahrodaya College of Advanced Studies has been a trailblazer, one that sets path for others to follow. Even before the COVID times, we have tried to assimilate technology to the traditional teaching learning process through database management systems like Linways. The Department of Commerce, CAS, cordially invites you to the webinar on developing a future workforce for the AI and future systems driven finance, HR, marketing, and operations. The resource person for the day is Sri Philip Verghese, VP and Lead, Cyber Defense and the Applied Intelligence Accenture Technology. Let's begin the program by seeking the blessings of Almighty.
Away, where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day. He will make a way. He will make a way. Beyond the wilderness, He leads me. Rivers in the desert will I see. Heaven and earth will fade, but His word will still remain. And He will do something today. God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way. He will make a way.
A smile is the universal welcome. Who would be more apt than Dr. Karna K. Nair, who faces all the hurdles with an unwavering smile? To welcome the gathering, I invite Dr. Karna K. Nair, Professional Course Coordinator, Department of Commerce.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm good morning to one and all present here today. Most respected Executive Director, Reverend Dr. Davis Tenginyadan, respected Principal, Dr. Jensen P.U., respected Vice Principals, Dr. Rani M.J., Dr. Matthew Paul Ukin, Honorable Resource Person of the Day, Mr. Philippe Verghese, respected Head of the Department of Commerce, Professor V.J. Thomas, distinguished faculty members from various higher education institutions, other invited guests, and my dear Sahradayans. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the webinar on developing a future workforce for the AI and future systems driven finance, HR, marketing and operations, conducted by the Department of Commerce. Before I go to my assigned duty of welcoming the August gathering present here today, let me quickly take you to the relevance of this program. Today is the age of Industry 4.0, which without my saying you all know is the term used interchangeably with the fourth industrial revolution and represents a new stage in the organization and control of the industrial value chain. As we all know, the buzzword when it comes to Industry 4.0 is digital transformation. It is characterized by even more automation than the third industrial revolution, the bridging of the physical and digital world through cyber-physical systems, enabled by industrial IoT, personalization and customization of products, so on and so forth. The goal is to enable autonomous decision-making processes, monitor assets and processes in real time, and enable equally real-time connected value creation networks through early involvement of stakeholders and integration of vertical and horizontal integration methods. Now, the impact that Industry 4.0 is predicted to have on both the economy as well as the labor force is immensely huge. Many research studies have predicted that in the next few years, a large percentage of employment in even developed economies like the US and UK is at high risk of replacement because of automation. The normal tendency of us human beings is to believe that we cannot be replaced. But that is only going to remain as a belief alone, and the reality is that we have already started to be replaced by machines and robots in many unimaginable spheres with the advent of AI. So it is at this juncture, we faculty members, the higher education institutions and students should shift our focus from traditional learning to industry-oriented learning, which will enable our students to be future ready to accept and face the challenges posed by the new age technology. Sahridaya has always taken her own stand when it comes to contemporary learning, new age courses, industry academic connect, and even student skill orientation. All the programs that we organize, whether it be the new age courses, value addition programs, or faculty development programs, are all channelized, keeping in mind our mission of creating value to all the stakeholders concerned. Our today's program also instills the same ideology. So now, without any more delay, let me move on to my assigned task of welcoming the august audience present here today. First of all, it is my duty to welcome our Executive Director, who is the force behind the success of our institution. His untiring efforts and constant support provides us with a sense of belonging and motivation. With all due respect, let me wholeheartedly welcome Reverend Dr. Davis Tinginiadan to this program. Welcome, Father. Next, let me take this opportunity to introduce and welcome our distinguished guest and resource person of the day, Mr. Philip Verghese. Mr. Verghese is an analytics veteran, entrepreneur, thought leader, and a visionary digital transformation and innovation executive, and currently serves as the Vice President and Global Head, Applied Intelligence, Analytics, and Innovation at Accenture Security. Prior to his current role, he was the co-founder and CEO of Datum Informatics Private Limited, a big data analytics and AI firm with deep focus into contextual intelligence using artificial intelligence and machine learning on unstructured and expertise in the fields of artificial intelligence, cyber intelligence, next-gen cyber defense, digital transformation, disruptive innovation, and cognitive decision systems. He is an invited keynote speaker in various national and international conferences and leading academics. I wholeheartedly welcome Mr. Philip Verghese to the gathering on behalf of the entire Sahridaya family. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Now it's my turn to welcome our respected principal, Dr. Jensen Pio, who is a person well known for his administration prowess. As a member of the Commerce and Management fraternity, there are many lessons that we try to learn from him in management and administration. With great respect, let me welcome Dr. Jensen Pio to this program. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, Dr. Rani MJ and Dr. Matthew Paulukin, our two vice principals, are our two very important pillars whose support given to us is immeasurable. Without their guidance and encouragement, no program will be complete. I wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Rani MJ and Dr. Matthew Paulukin to this program. Ma'am, sir, most welcome. Next, it's my turn to welcome the Head of Department of Commerce, Professor Vijay Thomas, whose dream has taken shape in the form of Sahradaya Professional Academy, the flagship venture of the Department of Commerce, which has helped Sahradaya to create a unique space for herself in the sphere of higher education in Kerala. I most humbly welcome Professor Vijay Thomas to this gathering. Welcome, sir. I also feel immensely happy to welcome all faculty members and students from our other higher education institutions as well as from other departments from our own college who have accepted our invitation, though in a short notice, and graced this program with your valuable presence. Welcome, everyone. Last but not the least, let me take this opportunity to welcome the faculty members and students of my own department as well as the HR and administrative departments of the college who have worked hard to make this event happen and are here today with great zeal and enthusiasm through both online and offline mode. I wholeheartedly welcome all of you to this webinar. Let me conclude by once again taking this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you present here to make this event a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With his unyielding tenacity, Reverend Dr. Davis Chengriyadan keeps proving time and again that he is the foundation on which we could all rely on. I invite Reverend Dr. Davis Chengriyadan, the Executive Director, CAS, to deliver the inaugural address. Father.
Dear distinguished personalities and participants of this webinar, very good morning to you all. Last January 2020, when I was a guest participant in an international seminar at Bangalore Christ University, I heard of the subject matter and future concerns for the first time. There were speakers from all corners of the world were presenting the same concept of present scenario of contemporary world that's called Industrial Revolution 4.0. Dr. Karuna already spoke about this platform that is concerned. The fourth industrial revolution is the ongoing automation of traditional manufacturing and industrial practices using modern smart technology. Large-scale machine-to-machine communication, M2M, and the Internet of Things, IoT, are integrated for increased automation, improved communication, and self-monitoring and production of smart machines that can analyze and diagnose issues without the need for human intervention. Klaus Schwab, Executive Chairman of the World Economic Forum, introduced the phrase to a wider audience in a 2015 article published by Foreign Affairs. Schwab includes in this fourth era technologies that combine hardware, software, and biology, cyber-physical systems, and emphasizes advances in communication and connectivity. Schwab expects this era to be marked by breakthroughs in emerging technologies in the field such as data analytics, robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, quantum computing, biotechnology, the Internet of Things, the Industrial Internet of Things, decentralized consensus, fifth generation wireless technologies, 3D printing, and fully autonomous vehicles. In this great era, artificial intelligence and future systems play a great role in industry, business, management, and finance, and future of ours. Concerning growing and developing future systems in all spheres of lives, we Sahardaya is introducing artificial intelligence with the BCA, BSc Computer Science, MSc Computer Science, and also Data Science and Physics, Data Analytics with the BSc Maths on these coming academic years. Sahardaya expects future generation with the future ready. Today, the Department of Commerce of Sahardaya College of Advanced Studies is hosting the webinar on developing a future workforce for the AI and future system driven finance, HR, marketing and operations. Mr. Philip Varghese, VP and the lead Cyber Defense Applied Intelligence of Accenture Technology will take you to a future that's ready in this new era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. I wholeheartedly welcome you all at the same time. So joyful to inaugurate it for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Father. We will now begin the session on developing a future workforce for the AI and future systems driven finance, HR, marketing, and operations. If the participants have any queries, I request you to put the same in the chat box, and after the session, Sir will be dealing with it. I invite our resource person, Mr. Philip Varghese, VP and Lead, Cyber Defense and Applied Intelligence Accenture Technology, to address the gathering.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Father, Principal, Director, and all the faculties who joined today's session. Thank you very much for having me here. I think it is a fantastic opportunity to come together and share our knowledge to prepare for the future, right? And I take this opportunity to thank and congratulate Sahardaya for organizing the session, and thank you for inviting me also into this initiative. So I think Father already excellently, I think, presented the context for my talk, where he has called out all the critical key things that is already out there, which are paramount in terms of the transformation that's happening across the globe. Okay, so I would be taking the pointers that Father just told to set my the basis for my conversation today, or the talk today. We are going to see through a lot of examples how the world is transforming. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know once you can see the screen, and then we can start from there. Can someone confirm that you're able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I would be, I'd be turning off my camera just to save some bandwidth for all of you. So let's focus on the content than my video. Okay, great. So as Father mentioned, as I think in the introduction message, as we have seen that the world is transforming very, very differently at a very, very high speed beyond our imagination. And analytics and artificial intelligence is playing a very, very crucial role in this huge transformation. And this transformation is happening not only in larger corporates and the companies and the industries, it is also happening in the governments, it is also happening in our educational institutions, it is also happening in our hospitals, it is also happening in our public systems, and it is also happening in our own houses, homes, and even our personal lives. Okay, that's the reality out there. I'm going to really take you through a lot of examples of this transformation, how that is getting implemented on the ground, and what we should keep in mind when we are developing our future workforce, and how do we prepare ourselves for living in such a transformed world, managed or driven by, enabled by artificial intelligence. As you already heard about me, I'm working in Accenture, but in today's session, I am here in my personal capacity. All the examples, the case studies, all the information that I'm going to share with you is all available from the public domain. It is nothing to do with any of my current or past organizations. So I just want to put a disclaimer there. All this content is either based on my knowledge, experience, or the research what I do in this space. Okay. Yeah, you heard about me. I love sharing my knowledge across various forums. So I voluntarily contribute to a lot of such programs across various institutions, universities, or even larger other initiatives. Today, what are we going to see? So today, in the next few minutes, I am going to share examples in various industries, various domains, various functions in across the world, how analytics and artificial intelligence is making a huge transformation. Second, I'm going to show you this analytics and AI is not just rosy and flashy as we see just like that. There is a real bad side of the analytics and AI as well if you don't use analytics and AI in the right way. I'm assuming the audience is mature enough to understand, appreciate, and be cautious about building such systems, using such systems in the future, because the analytics and AI is a double-edged sword if you don't use it rightly. Okay, so I'll show you a few aspects of the bad side of the AI if it is not used properly. The third thing, what I'm going to show you, analytics and AI is, just one of the major transformation levers out there. There are additional exponential technologies, just like the way Father mentioned. I would like to talk about a couple of more such initiatives. One is blockchain. The other one is robotic process automation or intelligent automation. Because we don't have much time, I won't be going in deep into these areas, but I would just touch upon with a lot of examples. And if the session is very, very interesting for all of you, if you like it, probably we can have subsequent sessions in the future where we can go deep into each of these areas. Okay, so this is what I'm going to cover today. Because the content is so wide and huge, I would slightly go a bit faster. If you have any questions, you may please put it in the chat window, or we can have a Q&A at the end of the session. And as I mentioned today, we are going to talk about a very high level, just to give you an overview, a 360-degree view of this transformation powered by artificial intelligence analytics and the other exponential technologies. And we can go slightly deeper, probably either at the Q&A session or subsequent sessions in the future. Before I get into the main AI analytics driven transformation across various industries, I just want to share a few aspects of the foundational changes happening in the industry. Okay, so that will help you to understand and correlate why all these things are happening out there. One, based on the McKinsey report, typically a company's average lifespan was about 60+ years in the past. But because of the digital disruption and revolution and the various other revolutions, including industrial revolutions, right now it is estimated at 18 years. But I personally believe that the average lifespan of an excellent organization is about 7 years maximum, if they are not pivoting their business models, if they are not innovating enough. So the company itself can be completely wiped out from the market. Standard & Poor, S&P 500, I mean, S&P is a global research company. They have the top, Fortune 100, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies list. So S&P 500 is such one list, where McKinsey, based on the report, saying that 75% of the companies existing today completely maybe disappeared from this universe in the next 5-6 years. 75% of the companies. That means many of the global companies that we see today may not be even there in the next 5 years. Okay, that's a reality. That is one effect of this digital transformation and digital disruption. The other thing that we need to note down here is actually every business today has to be a technology business, whether it is food, retail, telecom, hospital, education, any industry you look at, it has to be a technology business today. It cannot be an independent domain-specific business anymore, because earlier technology was built or digital systems were built to manage their business. But today, businesses are getting built around technology. The business models are built around technology platforms available out there. Okay, I mean, I'll show you a lot of examples for this. Why? What is this transformation? And you will see that earlier, the industry or the domain was given the whole focus. So banking, the banking domain is the, they are the authority, and they will be able to drive the way the banking has to be functioning. And obviously with a lot of regulatory. Similarly, retail, similarly telecom. But today, it's completely turned around. Today, it's all about customer and customer experience. Earlier, 1 or 2 banks, out there, but today, customer can choose which bank they have to bank with, which telecom company they need to operate with, which retail showroom they have to go with, which brand they have to use it. So it's all about customer and customer experience today, where 15, 20, 30, 50 years back, it was all about the specific domain they will be driving. And one bank, one telecom company, one retail company, they cannot offer one solution that is fitting for everyone's requirements. No, that has changed. Now today, every company has to offer multiple solutions, multiple ways of delivering their services across multiple channel, across multiple experiences, in multiple interfaces to different users. Then only they'll be able to survive. So it's all about the customer today. Customer centricity is going to be the most important aspects today. And you will see that a lot of autonomous devices, intelligent, small autonomous devices powered by AI will become democratized. That means we will all have AI devices along with us, either inside our body or inside our pockets or in our own homes or where we are working, that will enable us to do better things. And that is where it is going to be disrupting a lot of industries and domains. So autonomous devices are going to be part of our parcel of our life. So you will see a lot of new emerging technologies with new concepts like full stack cognitive architecture. I know it is a very tough word, but eventually you will see that AI, blockchain, extended reality, quantum computing, Internet of Things, cloud, everything will come together, integrate together to create a new environment altogether. Whether it is in the retail, banking, telecommunication, healthcare, education, doesn't matter. Legal, supply chain, HR, so it doesn't matter. These technologies will come together to really transform this, and it's already happening. And this is exactly where we need to be understanding some of the basics of these areas and see how that is going to impact our future workforce and how we should be ready with. So, as I mentioned, this cognitive smart devices, the autonomous devices will become the primary point of contact with the business for a customer. So earlier, if I need to really transfer an amount to a friend or a relative, I just have to go to a bank and stay in the in the queue for a long time, take a token, and then transfer the money. And sometimes that will hit the other person's bank account in 2 days. But today, you can say, Alexa, transfer 5,000 rupees to Mr. Thomas or Harry or anybody for that matter. It can automatically do the transfer just like a WhatsApp message. So you will see, you will engage with a lot of such intelligent systems to get your work done. Okay, so that is how the world is changing. And these technologies are going to give a lot of bargaining power to the end customer. That means customer is going to be the true king. The companies have to really completely transform their operations, offering solutions, services, products, meeting the customer requirement. So customer centricity is going to be the key for every industry. And customer intimacy would be the essential driver. Now, as I'm going to take a banking example because everyone understands that, and all of you are experiencing a lot of banking services, right? So earlier we had to go to the bank. Today the bank is coming to our own homes. And one bank branch cannot meet in person all the citizens living in that particular city. They cannot go and meet everyone. And whoever needs a banking service, they have to come to the bank. So the bank staff only could interact with the people in that city, only after the people are coming to the branch. There is no other way. So there was no bandwidth. There is no system to meet it. So how do you really break this barrier? And that is where you can have digital systems that can automatically reach anyone and everyone across the city through a digital platform. So customer intimacy, customer centricity can be only scaled and achieved through digital systems, which is scalable. So banks have to really change their models today. So as I mentioned earlier, how people reach the mass, the mass audience is only through TV, print, and radio. And in that one also, there was no intimacy, there is no relationship. It was always a push and a broadcast of their message and content. There is no interaction, there is no engagement, there is no relationship. There is no way to understand what your customers are thinking when you're pushing a lot of content to your customers. But today that has completely changed. Today it is all about email, mobile, online, video, and social. And you will be able to get instant response from your customers through this channels, the new age channels, whether it is as a reply to your email or an SMS back to you as a reply, or an engagement on the online, whether it is like or a share or a comment, or engaging the customer through a video, or even other social channels. So you are establishing a two-way communication and a relationship and engagement with your customers. So today, larger organizations and enterprise, they cannot look only at the demographics of the people or their customers. They have to look at the psychographics of the customers as well, and they need to combine it together to understand the behavior of the customers. Then only they will be able to upsell, cross-sell, improve their business. They will be able to identify risk and fraud. They'll be able to reduce their losses. So, and how do you understand your competition and how your customers are responding to competition? And that is where you need to look at demographics beyond psychographic. I mean, psychographics along with the demographics. So, typically, the old age companies or the old school companies, they have very sophisticated systems to manage their furniture and fixed assets. And today data is getting very, very important. And the traditional companies, they don't even know how to leverage the data to really make the customer centricity happening, customer intimacy happening, to make sure that how do they engage through different platforms to manage, establish, connect a relationship and engage in the customer is extremely difficult. So this is where data is going to be very, very important. Information is going to be very, very important. Companies are establishing a lot of digital infrastructure like cloud, analytics, data, cyber, etc., to ensure that they are engaging with their customers more closely to meet the customer demands. Because if you don't meet the customer demand, you don't have revenue, you don't have customers, you don't have sales. If you don't have sales and revenues, your company cannot survive, and that is where the companies will close. And companies who are not able to transform themselves into this new age requirements, those are the companies who are going to completely getting closed. I already told you about 75% of the companies may be closed in the next 5-6 years based on the McKinsey report. So it is extremely important that the companies are taking a very, very transformational approach to meet the customer requirements in a personalized way. So that is exactly what is done by companies, the new age companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, etc. These are all companies came in the recent times. They straight away leverage data analytics and AI to get their unfair advantage of getting the #1 positions across the globe in their respective areas, because they're born digital and their data literacy is very, very high. So they leverage data analytics, information, and artificial intelligence to the best and the fullest extent to build business models. And today they are the #1 companies. They grew and they are exponentially growing. So as Father mentioned, so there was a transition in terms of this data management. People used to collect the data, manage the data, report the data, whether it is in the accounting or in the HR or in the supply chain or in the marketing, all through physical systems. I think there is a background noise. Can somebody go on mute? Yeah. Okay. So then what happens actually? People started using digital systems to collect data, like the software. You are very familiar with the Tally or SAP or many other systems to collect data, which can be used, analyzed, processed to understand your customer, understand your sales, revenue, and then the future. But as Father mentioned, the future is all about machine-to-machine transactions and machine-to-machine communication. We will not even use softwares just like that, the way software is being used in the past. And the systems are going to be getting connected more and more, and the systems will talk to each other, and system will take automated decisions. That's what you have seen, autonomous systems, intelligent systems. We are going to see a lot of examples. Okay, so the micro devices, these intelligent systems and smart chips are going to be embedded even in human beings. And you will see these biochips will be embedded in humans. I think a lot of experiments are already happening in this space. And people will have to take digital pills, not the traditional, the medicines, the pills. You'll have to eat digital pills for your diseases, where the digital pills can real time collect data when you eat a pill or a tablet, and then get the data in real time, how that pill is reacting with your body, how this pill is reacting with your other food or the other medicine that you are consuming or taking. And then you can immediately send the information to the respiratory doctors who are prescribing that medicine to you. So we are living in such a transforming world. Okay, so it's all about how you leverage the data, how do you derive the value out of the data, and then make it to use better to improvise the life out there, right? Whether for a customer, for a domain, or for industry. So that is where the value of the data increases when it is being shared. So organizations will use this data, whether it is in the accounts, whether it is in the finance, whether it is in the marketing, whether it is in the supply chain, or in the operations, or in the sales, or in the risk management. Every area, organizations will use this data to be more competitive, because if they are not competitive, if they are not innovative, then they are going to be shutting down their company, right? And that is where every company has to focusing the end customer, and this is where everyone has to transform themselves to enable hyper personalization, which is very, very context to a particular person. If someone is working in an IT industry with a very, very high salary in a metropolitan city, his profile will be totally different than a medical professional or a nurse who is working in a tier 3 city in a remote village where there is no connectivity with a lower income band. So the requirements of these two people will be totally different. And so the same case with a farmer or a lawyer or a teacher or a government employee, doesn't matter. So this is where everyone has to really transform themselves into this contextual hyper personalization. And data is the only one thing that can make it happen. And the data has to be used for deriving insights to make this hyper personalization enabled. And to enable that, our people, whether we are working in the HR, finance, supply chain, accounting, marketing, any of these areas, doesn't matter. We need to use this data to derive insights, and then we should tell stories using this data and insights. And you have seen artificial intelligence is coming all around in every aspect of our life. And this AI is going to continue, and we should use this AI to be smart storytellers so that companies can take smarter and better decisions to grow further. So every aspect of our life, AI is already there. Everything what we are doing today, there is a bit of AI coming into place. So I'm going to show you some examples. This AI is enabling a knowledge engineering platform, and we are going to live in a knowledge economy, because as you've seen, a lot of platforms out there, a lot of digital platforms, technologies are going to produce a lot of data. This data has a lot of knowledge, a lot of insights, a lot of intelligence. But data alone will not be able to get you that intelligence. You need to engineer this data to derive the knowledge, to derive the insights. Then only you will be able to take better decisions, informed decisions. So this is exactly as I told. These are some of the companies, most of them you are familiar with, has already used this to become the number one companies in their respective areas. In this process, many things got disrupted. We don't carry any more video cassettes or music CDs or large set of books or things like that. It's already disrupted. It is all about, we are just saying, Alexa, play me Rihanna song, or play me Yeshuda's song of this particular movie. It automatically comes just like that. You just need to talk. You don't even need to type it, right? Industries are sort of getting disrupted. Financial services are struggling to manage their branch today, because people don't even need to go to a bank today to open an account, to transfer the money, to get the loans. They don't need to go anywhere. They can simply sit in their own home and then take a selfie and open a bank account, right? So there were 13 telecommunication companies in India in the past. Today there are 3, 4, and even they are struggling to survive and maintain, because the digital companies like WhatsApp, Signal, Facebook, Google completely disrupting the telecommunication industry. And we will see this across multiple industries, even in retail showrooms, in many other areas. Amazon Go is a retail showroom in the US, where in this retail show, in this supermarket, you can just go inside, take whatever the things you want, and you can come out. There is no security, there is no billing counter, there is no customer support agent, there is no queue, there is no line, nothing. You just go inside the showroom, take whatever the things you want, and you can come out. Automatically, the billing, inventory, checking, everything will happen automatically in the background using artificial intelligence. That's a very interesting system, right? So how Amazon enabled that is nothing but they used artificial intelligence, sensor fusion, computer vision, facial recognition, a number of such artificial intelligence technologies used in a small retail shop in a small supermarket to enable that experience. So your retail is changing. Same way your transportation, logistics, and even automobile industry is completely changing. You will see smart cars, autonomous cars, driverless cars, which is completely powered by AI. And this car is having a lot of sensors, cameras attached to it, which will collect data in real time, and then it knows where to stop, where to take left, when to start, where to stop, and which is the destination, which is the best route, everything. You don't need to say anything. Just get inside the car and take me to Bangalore or Cochin or Trivandrum. It can automatically take me. I don't need to say anything. I don't need to do anything. And the world already started not only creating the smart cars, they also started creating smart roads. The smart roads can talk to this driverless cars. China is one example where recently they started building smart roads, where the smart cars can be driven on the smart roads. The roads are going to be intelligent, not only these cars. And there are manufacturing companies who are completely transforming their manufacturing factories into intelligent manufacturing units. And you will see there is no person in this floor, because this car is completely manufactured by intelligent robots, the robotic process automation. There's no person on this floor. So right from design to manufacturing to testing, it all going to be done by intelligent machines. And this AI is already today used in drug discovery, health diagnostics, customer service, facial recognition, and even in unmanned aerial vehicles. And if you're using a Facebook, if you're uploading your pictures, or your friends and families, you're uploading a picture, immediately you'll see a lot of recommendations to tag your photographs, your friend's photograph. Instantly, you'll see that. There are millions of photographs being uploaded to Facebook. But from a photograph, how do they identify the photo of a particular person? It is nothing but artificial intelligence. If you're using a smartphone, if you're using your face to unlock your phone using your face, it's again artificial intelligence. So you already started living with artificial intelligence systems without knowing that this is AI. So it is not just about the industries or people or the companies which are going to be a part of this AI and digital and data ecosystem. Even animals are coming into this. There will be smart chips implanted into animals, which will collect the data real time about the health of the animal, the production, milk supply, the meat, everything. It will be able to be available for people to analyze, manage, and plan, and then progress. So you will see this kind of intelligent systems even coming to our own homes. I'm sure all of you know Amazon Alexa, Google Home, and kind of systems which are which are very common in every home today. Google launched a platform called Google Duplex. I'm not playing the video here because it's 4-minute video. You can see it in the internet. Google Duplex is a system that is that can be your personal assistant, your virtual executive secretary. Now imagine that every this Saturday you wanted to go for a family dinner outside. This Google Duplex can automatically initiate a call to the nearby best restaurants based on your choices. It can automatically initiate a call and then talk to the restaurant owner to fix an appointment or a slot or a booking appointment for you in that particular restaurant. And you will not believe that the person, the restaurant owner, I don't think the restaurant owner will be believing that he or she is talking to a robot. The robot can, the Google Duplex can talk just like a human being. Very, very interesting conversation. And it can even book a salon, haircut, or restaurant appointment, anything. So that's how the AI is coming to our own homes. It can remind you for your calendars, your appointment, your meetings, your medicine intake, your exercises, your whatever it is. It can remind you for that. And I'm not sure whether some of you have seen these movies. These are all sci-fi movies which came long time ago. And today these sci-fi movies are getting a reality. Many of the characters what we see in these movies are getting a reality. And we have already seen that in many places it's happening. But before I go to the actual side of that sci-fi movies getting a reality, I just wanted to take a small poll here. One of these images is not real. That image is created by AI, not the real face of a human being. Which one is that? Is the female face is real, not real, or the male face is not real? Which one is not real? Can you put all your responses into the chat window, please? Which one is not real? Is the male photograph not real or the female photograph not real? Can all of you put your responses, please? Okay, male, couple of this person do not exist. So I could see that there are a lot of people on the call, but I am getting only a few responses. Female, male, female face is not real. Can I have some more responses from all of you? Both? Female, female, both are not real. Yeah, I think some of you might have been there in my past sessions, but interestingly, so the fact is actually both these pictures are not real. These are all created by artificial intelligence engines, and you see how precisely AI can design a human face, how natural, how realistic. These people are not real people. Okay, and you will see AI can be used for designing the face of the the way you like your faces to be designed. And there are a lot of positive use cases to this. Okay, now imagine an acid attack victim wants to do a plastic surgery, and when before the plastic surgery he or she can design their own beautiful faces after the attack. Whether the person met with an accident and have a significant damage to their face, definitely they can use this technology to design their new face. On the bad side, on the other side, some guys can commit a crime and then use this technology to change their facial shape of their face and then escape, not being identified. So the technology can be used for good and as well as bad. Okay, there are so many technologies available today, and you will see in the future the movies acted by actors and actresses who are not real. These are all the photographs of people who are not real. Okay, these are all photographs completely designed by artificial intelligence engines. And you will see movies, scripts, musics are composed or written by AI engines, and they will design their own characters, and they will design their own actors and actresses to act in that movie. A movie completely born in the virtual and digital world powered by AI. And that's for the future. And today, these technologies are already there, and companies and industries already started, taking this technology to start building the real digital humans. Using thermoplastic elastomer and 3D printing and brain mapping technologies, you can create a virtual human who doesn't have a death, immortal digital humans. And the best example is Sophia. The Sophia is a robot which got citizenship in Saudi Arabia a couple of years back. And Sophia can call a press meet, conduct a stage, conference. It can do anything. So these are all intelligent systems coming in, taking in different sizes and forms and shapes, powered by analytics and AI. And this Sophia can come in many different formats. Now imagine the Sophia has to work like or Sophia has to take the role of an HR manager or a recruitment manager. So I just want to show you a small video how analytics is being used in different industries, in different formats, in different functions. So let me play this video for you. So you will see that how AI is taking or transforming the HR and recruitment function.
Welcome, Oliver. Glad to see you put on your blue shirt for the interview.
Yes, indeed. You're welcome.
Are you feeling stressed?
Just a bit,
Please allow me to play some piano music to make you feel more comfortable.
I feel a bit better now, thank you.
Glad to hear that. Tell me, why should I hire you?
I've been passionate about courses. I'm a boy.
Okay, let's do a little test. Can you show me where my electric compressor is?
Sure. Here.
Perfect. Can you explain how my 360-degree camera? I think I'm going to keep you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
How AI is being leveraged to do recruitment, which can understand the empathetical, sympathetical, behavioral aspects of a candidate, still conduct a technical interview and take a decision whether the candidate should be onboarded or not. So HR using analytics and AI to make the work better. And the Sophia is taking the shape of a car here. So AI is coming in the shape of a car, and that's how industry is going to change. And this is applicable across all the domains, not only in HR. You will see this transformation in finance, in supply chain, in marketing, in sales, and many, many other places. I'm going to show you more examples. Now, AI and analytics have to be used for solving critical problems. And one of the very interesting examples in the pandemic time, that in the Japan, there is a startup called Donut Robotics, created a smart mask, which can translate 8 languages and become the savior for thousands of people who stranded in different parts of the world, who couldn't communicate in the regional local languages. If you're a tourist in Japan, if you don't know Japanese, and if you're stuck there in a hotel, and the hotel people, if they don't know English, and and if you don't know Japanese, you are completely struggling. This mask can translate 8 languages, but still function like a smart mask. Actually, see how much relief to people it is providing with a complex problem. I mean, like, as a solution, right? So you will see this adoption of AI in many, many other areas. The Sophia can take even the form of a news anchor in the media industry. So imagine in a country, if you don't get sufficient English language experts or different language experts. So you can use an AI engine to talk in a particular language, read out the news 24/7, maybe in English, maybe Mandarin, Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, Hindi, or Tamil, whatever the language, right? So in China, there is already an AI robot that has been doing the news reading. And today, this analytics and AI is used in many areas unbelievably. In the larger sports arena, in the sports and games, people use analytics to select players based on their performance, their ability to perform in various situations. Lawyers and judges can use data to take legal verdicts, or support their legal their verdicts. Movies and entertainments already started using AI. I already mentioned about this. Even industries like oil and gas uses analytics and AI to really produce. I mean, the explore the oil based on the risk and the profitability and the engineering requirements on the ground. So to make their operations more effective and productive. So this analytics and AI is used in so many areas unbelievably. Even if in a flight today, less than 5% is only the actual pilots are flying the flight. 95% of the time it is flown by intelligent automated systems, where the sensors are connected to these engines, which will collect the data in real time to understand if there are any problems, vibration, temperature, pressure, humidity, wear and tear, any other parts are not functioning. So all intelligently real time analyzed to really help you land safely. So again, analytics and AI coming to picture. Los Angeles Police Department using analytics and AI 20 years back to predict crimes. And they were able to predict crimes and reduce 33% of burglaries and 21% violent crimes. They were able to reduce because they were able to predict crimes and take proactive necessary action. Amazon using analytics and AI in hundreds of areas. And one example is that when you log into Amazon.com, you will see if 100 people are logging into the Amazon portal, you will see 100 different personalized recommendations. Again, Amazon is not manually giving you personalized recommendation. It's all AI playing in the background. UPS is a parcel company. It's a truck company spending nearly 10,000 crore rupees every year only on analytics. Why a truck company has to use 10,000 crore only on analytics? Because they have 1 lakh vehicles globally. They use analytics to understand how their operation is happening. Which routes are giving the maximum profitability, which are the areas they have risk, where they are leaking the revenue, which are the vehicles can go and have a breakdown very soon, which vehicles needs a repair, who are the drivers need a better driver training, driving expertise. So they derive these critical insights to manage their operations effectively to become profitable or even reduce the risk. So that's why a logistics company spending 10,000 crore or investing so much of money to really do analytics. McDonald's using analytics to understand their regional store performances or customer behaviors or store, the products that they offer in a particular store. So they use they use even climatic data to predict what kind of raw materials to be purchased. Rolls-Royce engine company, they use analytics, by leveraging the data from their engines, which is collected through this IoT, Internet of Things sensors, to even understand the vibration, pressure, temperature, etc., to predict whether there's any failure in the engine or not. Shell kind of petroleum companies uses analytics in their oil exploration to predict and manage their exploration in a right way, because 10 minutes of production downtime can cause them $12 million plus of damage or financial loss. And this kind of analytics and AI is not only applied in larger organization, but also available in smaller like a restaurant or even small hotels. And this kind of AI will come to your own houses as a personalized doctor or a medical assistant to you 24/7. It will have data from you directly feed it from your smart chip, or it can take the data from your lab report and then can predict and tell you may have a headache today evening, or you may have an attack in the next 3 days. If you don't do these things, then definitely be careful. So it can give you personalized advisory. It can predict what kind of disease can come to you. So you will see this doctors coming to your own houses every day, 24/7, sleepless, doctor who will be giving you, monitoring you, advices in real time. So slowly you will see your own homes are getting smarter. You will live in a smart home which is completely powered by artificial intelligence. You may already have a smart TV, smart refrigerator, smart light, smart fan, or even smart coffee machine. These are all powered by artificial intelligence. And that is how the smart homes are getting a reality. We will be living in the future in a smart home powered by AI. I just want to give you a small example of such a smart home through a video. Though it's a funny video, but it has a very interesting message to us. What kind of good side as well as what kind of bad side if the AI systems are not functioning properly.
Playing jazz.
Playing jazz.
Smoothie.
Making smoothie.
Calendar.
No meetings today. Remember, tandläkare at 9:30.
Fire off.
Fire off.
Open door.
Door open.
Så ska vi sätta en till.
Ja. Open door.
Wrong voice command.
Open door.
Wrong voice command.
Open door.
Repeat that.
Open door.
I didn't understand that.
Hey, open door.
Play on the floor.
Get on the floor. Open the door.
Wrong
Open the door.
Error.
Hey there, with a rock. Open door. Open door. Open door. Higher.
Higher volume.
Higher.
Higher.
See, you have seen that the first half of the video, how this guy is operating and living in his own smart home, right? So he was able to give a virtual command, turn off my AC, turn off the fire, play this music, make me a coffee, close the door. Everything happens smoothly. Now, if the AI systems are not going to recognize you, obviously it can lock you inside. It can heat the rooms beyond the limits. It can play loud musics. It can turn the fire on and fire your house. Many bad things can also happen if you don't use it properly. Okay, so yeah, that's the bad side of it. When the homes are getting smarter, right? So you will see that this the traffic, healthcare, the the hospitals, the education systems, when many of these things are getting smart, then obviously the small city itself will become smart, and you'll see smart cities are coming up. So you might have already heard about the smart city projects in India, right? So hospitals, retails, police stations, many of such things are going to be getting smarter, implementing smart systems, which will eventually becoming very, very smart, and eventually the smart cities, smart nation, and smart countries are going to be born. Okay, this is where the huge opportunity also. So there is a huge need for quantifying the uncertainty, and then and then making sense out of this. Today, if you look at the biggest opportunity out there, or biggest requirement out there, a lot of people required to make better decisions. So if you look at the any role, whether it is accounts or finance or HR, you would see that there will be hundreds of people required to take better decisions. Just hold on for a second. Sorry, there was a background noise. Yeah. So if you look at the biggest opportunity out there for people across domains, across industry, across functions is you need people to take smart decisions. And that's the biggest problem today. Whether you're an HR or finance or marketing person, doesn't matter. Your biggest requirement, the opportunity to take smart, right, efficient decisions. So that is where analytics and AI is going to be extremely important, and we should know how to use analytics and AI to take smart and better decisions. And there are 4 types of analytics out there: descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. Descriptive and diagnostic analytics are very, very simple. This will help you understand what's happening right now, why this is happening. If my sales, what is my sales today? What is my profit today? Now that is descriptive analytics. And if you need to know why my sales are increasing or why my sales are not increasing or decreasing, why my profit is declining, then it is all about diagnostic analytics. And based on this insight, if you need to understand what will happen in the next 6 months to predict your sales and revenue and the profit, and that is predictive analytics. Now, if you see that your sales are going to decline in the future also, then what you should be doing to increase your sales, increase your profit? And this is where you should use prescriptive analytics, AI systems to understand what can be done to make it right. So prescriptive analytics, the artificial intelligence will come here. The advanced analytics and artificial intelligence will be here. Today, companies are using to understand this different levels of analytics to manage their risk and fraud, understand the customer in a 360-degree, predict if there is any fraud transactions happening. There are so many areas today companies using to take the decisions to have a better procurement or purchase plan, managing their vendors, understanding their customers, what kind of marketing campaigns to be done to whom. So they do a lot of business intelligence analytics, predictive modeling, big data analytics, social media analytics, geospatial analytics, by leveraging the data from various different platforms like social media, their internal transaction data, sensor and IoT data, even public data. So they collect all this data to predict their operations, manage their operations in a much more efficient way. There are so many roles out there. So the future of the jobs would be people who can take effective decisions, whichever the functions or domain you are playing in, whether it is in a finance or accounts or HR or marketing or sales. You will have intelligent systems already doing your job. The traditional data entry, collection, processing, reporting, everything will be done by the traditional, this intelligent systems. Your job will be working with these intelligent systems to create insights, derive the knowledge, and help the companies to take better decisions. That is what is going to be your job. So definitely you should know the aspects of analytics and AI, then only you'll be able to work with this. So there are opportunities like data analyst, data engineer, and data scientist who will be processing all this data to help the companies to take better decisions. And there are bit of qualifications, from a technical qualification, from a functional requirement, communication skill, domain knowledge, etc., required to really become an expert or a decision support executive to help companies to take better decisions. So in whichever the domain you are in, right? So so that's what the opportunity in the future. So your role, whether you are a finance expert or a supply chain expert or a marketing expert, your role is going to mostly help build these intelligent systems. Now, it is extremely important that if you don't build the system, these kind of intelligent systems, if you don't build these kind of smart systems in a right way, it can go, it can go very, very, very. It can be very dangerous. Microsoft launched an AI solution called Tay. It is an intelligent chatbot system powered by AI. They integrated the Tay chatbot with the Twitter. Unfortunately, this Tay AI system started behaving very, very vulgar. It started using a lot of obscene language in the public. Okay, some of the screenshots are provided here. I'm not reading it out. So within 24 hours, they had to withdraw this chatbot and apologize to the public. Microsoft is a big company. AI is a fantastic technology, but it failed. Target is another big global retail company. They started using artificial intelligence to predict what kind of products the customers would need based on their behavior, profile, and purchase requirements using pattern recognition analytics. Now, Target used all the data, collected all the data, and then they have an offering called anticipatory shipping. They shipped a few products that is required for a pregnant lady to a particular house. But that girl was, that lady was just a teen girl, not even married. And her father received these items. So before her father knows about the teen girl is pregnant, the Target knew because they used analytics and AI in the background. Now, if you don't use the analytics and AI, keeping the data privacy, the respect to the data privacy, obviously these kind of things can happen. Amazon again launched a recruitment tool, just like the way Volvo car, you've seen the AI recruitment, right? Amazon launched a recruitment tool. Unfortunately, it didn't like the women candidates. It hired only male candidates. Ethical problems. AI failed again. You've seen that AI is being used in autonomous cars, driverless cars. Now, in US in 2018, one of the Uber cars, AI car, gone and hit a person and the person died. So Uber AI car killed a person. So AI killing people. So if you don't build the AI in the right way, it can be very dangerous. The same AI can be used for creating deep fake. Your own images and videos can be used to create videos and photographs which is not yours. I'm going to show you some examples in the coming minutes. Facebook created 2 chatbots using AI, and then they allowed this AI chatbots to talk to each other. Very soon, this chatbot started talking to each other and created their own language, which is very scary. Facebook had to immediately shut down this chatbot. In one particular house, there was a party happening in the morning. So Amazon Alexa, the AI engine, it thought that it is a big fight happening in the house. Immediately it called the police. So AI couldn't recognize whether it is a fight or a party happening in a house. AI failed again. Alexa played a pornographic video instead of playing a children's song when a child asked to play a song sometime back in 2017. AI failed again. I also told you about the smart cars, driverless cars. If you don't build it right, obviously these smart cars can be hacked by hackers and then can be controlled remotely, or even used. The other AI systems can be used to manipulate the systems and then hijack your own cars. and your own smart houses, the smart AC, smart refrigerators, smart vacuum cleaners can be used against you. It can be hijacked if it is not built right. And this is a screen of a vacuum cleaner, a smart vacuum cleaner being hijacked, and it can be used to capture all your everything in your room, whether you're talking, whether you're acting, whatever you're doing, right? Eating or sleeping, whatever, it can capture everything and send it to somebody. Has already happened in Kerala sometime back. One lady's naked photographs being captured by a smart TV and sent to different people across the world. Again, smart TV, intelligent TVs are getting hacked. So we need to be very, very careful when we are using these kind of systems. A CCTV camera in the US being hacked, which is a smart camera, being hacked by a hacker, and when the parents were not there, the hacker was controlling or asking this small child here to do very, very bad things. The smart pacemakers in our own, as I was telling, the smart chips or embedded intelligence systems in our own body can be controlled by other people. So Abbott is a company in the global healthcare company. They had about 465,000 pacemakers in people, which is vulnerable to attack. That means if that is getting breached, that intelligent pacemaker is getting breached, a cyber criminal can kill 4.65 lakh people just like a click of a button. So today everything is getting smart. Recently there is even a sex toy being hacked and people were asking ransom before they unlock it. So every aspect, very unimaginable aspects of the AI is in place today, but these are all having a bad side as well. Your own small child can use these AI systems to hack your own intelligence systems to ask for ransom. This happened recently. Okay, 10-year student is asking, a 10-year kid is asking 10 crore rupees cyber ransom after unlocking their own smart systems. So you will see a lot of such things. Okay, I want to show you another bad side of the AI if it is not used rightly, and a small video. This is where deep fake. I was talking about deep fake, how AI can be used against us to create deep fake to plan propagandas.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time, even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right, or Ben Carson is in the sunken place, or how about this? Simply, President Trump is a total and complete dipshit. Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele. This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. That's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources. It may sound basic, but how we move forward in the age of information is going to be the difference between whether we survive or whether we become some kind of fucked up dystopia. Thank you. Stay woke, bitches.
So the similar videos being created for, one second, sorry. Yeah, so similar deepfake videos are being created against so many people, including Queen Elizabeth, so many people out there. Our own photographs in the social medias can be used against us, where people can use AI engines to create deepfake. There are about more than 1 lakh fake nude photographs being created using the deepfake bots in Telegram. So there are different tools already available there to create all these things. And in India, last I think a couple of months back, one person's images were being used to create a deepfake fake nude photograph, and then he had to give 1 lakh rupees as ransom to really shut down that. So people will use all these things. So there are a lot of opportunities out there in the analytics and AI itself to create very, very interesting solutions in the AI space to make the world a better one. At the same time, you should be very careful how to create the right solutions, right? So you have opportunities in both the spaces to create the right solutions, and obviously helping the AI solutions to be secured as well, to be used in the right way, right? So you have opportunities across the world. There are more than 3 crore opportunities, I think, across the globe for data scientist requirement. 1/10 of that is required in US alone. About 30 lakh people required in the US by 2018 itself. But not even a fraction of the people are available out there. If you don't, like, we need to ensure that we build this analytics AI systems, we use this analytical AI systems in a more ethical way. This AI systems, analytic solutions that we are going to use have to be more transparent and explainable. If there are some of the things going wrong, obviously it has to be responsible, and we should use AI to have the accurate intelligence and information to help us to take the right decision. So the AI, if you don't use it rightly, then obviously it can be used as lethal weapons against us. Using AI, people can launch cyber attacks. Contents can be delivered in a biased way so that it can influence our decisions. So it's extremely important that we understand the compliances, governance, and policies, and we should be having these to ensure the analytics and AI is being used in the right way. There has to be legal framework. It has to be value driven, and it has to be ecosystem oriented. So we cannot use AI and analytics just like for the sake of using analytics and AI systems, or somebody else is using this. We should ensure that we understand the value and how it has to be used in the right way. So that is all about the analytics and AI system. I'll take a couple of minutes to talk about RPA and blockchain. So RPA is nothing but robotic process automation. So automation is nothing but whatever the task that we are doing, which is very, very repeatable in nature, which is very, very predictable in nature. If there is a high volume of such tasks to be done, then that can be automated. That will become automated by any means, either by a machine or by intelligent systems. So imagine any process. If anything that is repeatable, if anything that is predictable, if anything that is scalable, that will be automated. That will be done by a system. Now, when it is RPA, robotic process automation, it will have more intelligence associated with this. So when you do reporting, when you do, so the whole reporting itself can be automated, and it can reduce a lot of error. It can save a lot of time. It can, it can eliminate a lot of manual interventions. So it can save a lot of money. It can save a lot of computing power. So automation is going to enable a lot of business benefits. There are different types of automation, as I mentioned: robotic process automation, cognitive automation, digital assistants, and autonomous engines. These are all big topics by itself, but I just want to give a flavor to you. Same way, another technology that is coming and transforming is blockchain. Blockchain is a new system which will eliminate many of the intermediary systems or middleman systems, including the banks, including the governments. So today, blockchain is being used in so many different use cases. Blockchain technology has wide, adoption of problem statements and use cases out there. Just to give you an example, blockchain can be a solution for managing identities. Now, how many identity cards each one of us have? We have a voter's ID, we have a passport, we have a driving license, we have an Aadhaar card, we have so many. We have a college identity card, we have a hospital identity card, we have a tax identity card, we have PAN card, we have so many cards. Now, you don't need to have all these cards. You just need to have only one identity that can be managed through blockchain. You don't need to even have a card. You will have a virtual card. Globally, your entire identity can be managed in one single place. That is one of the use cases in blockchain. The other use case is actually, you have seen Aadharams, right? All these land property documents. And there are a lot of conflicts and a lot of disputes happening in the land property. You have seen recent cases as well. So blockchain can be a fantastic solution where everything can be managed in a simple place that can validate all the information centrally, globally, without any human intervention. And it cannot be tampered. So there are so many such use cases being adopted in the industry using blockchain. Cryptocurrency is one such use case being operated out of blockchain. So the blockchain, robotic process automation, and artificial intelligence are all things coming together to make the world totally a transformed one. And if you think that, for an accounting job, you know that the invoice is typically being sent by a vendor or a customer supplier to your accounts department. Somebody will download the invoice, verify the whole invoice against your contracts, your payment terms and everything. Then you approve it for making payment. Then the billing section makes the payment, and the transfer will happen. So a lot of manual work is happening. But today, using blockchain, using the RPA systems, intelligent cognitive systems, you don't have to do any of these things. Everything will happen automatically in the background. Invoice can be automatically downloaded, information can be extracted, verification of the information can be done against your accounts, contracts, and even your inventory or in your stock or in your warehouse. Everything can happen automatically, and even the payment can be automatically done. You don't have to have any thing manually. So what is the role of an accountant then? And here is where an accountant or an HR person or a finance person have to really come up, upskill himself to really manage intelligent and take better decisions to improve your organization. So how do we really be prepared for this, whether we are a student or a trainee or an executive or a senior person in a company, whether we are a teacher, whether we are a consultant, doesn't matter. We need to really learn how to work with this kind of systems. Then only we have a future. Otherwise, all these things can be taken by machines or people who has expertise to manage this. So I have two mantras which I share in every conference or every talk, is that irrespective of your current position or level, two mantras: one, learn, unlearn, and relearn. Second, skill, upskill, and reskill. Anyone and everyone. Then only we will be relevant in today's world. So if you do that, definitely we will be relevant in this transforming world. We will have a lot of opportunities, and that's what I want to share in today's session. I hope the session was useful. Thank you so much for patiently listening to the session. I know that I took probably 10 minutes more. Happy to take any questions if you have. Thank you once again for all your support and wonderful opportunity here. Wish you all the very best, and thank you once again.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful session. The floor is now open for discussion. I invite Assistant Professor Ms. Srikala to initiate the question answer session.
It's the time for question answer session. Participants, please type down your queries in the chat box. So, as a students, what should be the approach taken by them to be industry ready?
Can you repeat the question, ma'am? Sorry.
As students, what should be the approach taken by them to be industrially ready?
Two, three things. One, as I mentioned, the first fundamental principle is learn, unlearn, and relearn, skill, upskill, and reskill. But the areas are so deep and wide, so it is extremely important to understand first your strengths. What are your aspirations? What are your strengths? What are your areas of interest? Then identify 2-3 areas. Then you have to do a lot of learning, understanding, upskill and reskill in that particular area. That's what you need to do. And you need to start with the basics and foundations before you go deep into that, because don't try to really understand and become an expert in all the areas, because the area is so huge and you will not be able to do that just like that. It will take years.
Thank you, sir. And another question is the scope of the data science as a career.
So as I mentioned, the data science, the data science itself is a very, very huge area. As I mentioned, there are more than 3 crore opportunities out there, in the data science umbrella. You can start as a data analyst to start with if you have the domain expertise. Then you can become a data engineer or a data scientist. Every organization, as I mentioned, requires decision makers, smart experts who can manage their data, right, and derive knowledge out of this. Every organization, whether it is a retail, banking, telecom, manufacturing, supply chain, oil and gas, any company, it's all these companies are transforming, migrating into intelligent digital systems, which will process a lot of data. And then you need a lot of data experts to manage the data, to take smart decisions. So, but how do we really start? How do we make a start is, you need to start based on your strength, as I mentioned, your skill. So the future is all going to be skill-based opportunity, right? So you may be a consultant, you may be a technical data analyst, you may be a sales expert, but it is important that how do you use these technologies, how do you use these areas to improve your roles and responsibilities. So the whole career itself can be started as an analyst, with your domain expertise, if you're coming from an HR, finance, marketing, or accounts background, and then slowly you can become a data scientist eventually.
So the next question is, how to start preparations with BCom for data science?
In the future, I didn't specifically talk about the accounts and finance, and you will see smart accountants or virtual CFOs in your board of directors meetings, and you will see in the future the board of directors meeting, or even the affidavits, or even the P&L, or even the balance sheet. Any of such things have to be really approved by even a virtual CFO or an intelligent virtual CFO. So given that kind of a future world, you would need to know how you should be able to understand the data from an accounts and finance perspective, and then you should be able to derive inference or information from this data and correlate this information not only from an accounts perspective, but also to help companies to take better decisions. Because earlier, accounts, finance, HR departments, etc., were considered as a cost center for a company. So you are the supporting function for a company. Today, companies are expecting the accounts department and finance department to become a profit center. There's a huge that is a huge ask. It's a big transformational request. So here is where accounts and finance department or HR departments will be asked to contribute to the financial growth of the organization. And here is where you should be looking at the data from a finance perspective, accounts perspective, and then provide insights to the leadership team or the decision makers to understand the company's current status, risk areas, potential business models, everything you will be able to, or you should be able to build and share with the stakeholders or the leadership executives. So as an accounts and finance executive, definitely you need to know what are the key aspects of this data management, how you can apply analytics in your own domain, what are the use cases, what kind of tools, what kind of models to be applied. Definitely, as I mentioned, every company is now a technology company. So so is every role. You cannot say that I'm non-technical, I cannot function in this area. Even a nurse, even a lawyer today they have to really engage with this intelligence systems. So is the accounts and finance experts. So you should be knowing the foundations and basics of this data science, analytics, tools and technologies, data modeling, KPIs and dashboard reporting. Then only you'll be able to use all these things to take better decisions. So you will have the domain knowledge. The computer engineering team, they don't have the domain knowledge. You will be having the domain knowledge. So either you need to work together, or companies will ask you to do it together. So this is where you should be able to upskill yourself with the kind of tools and technologies, models and methodologies, concepts and fundamentals of the data analytics or some of these technologies to how to use this in your day-to-day system. I think in the past, I have taken a session that especially for accounts and finance, how to be using these capabilities in your various accounts and finance operations.
I think the query is clear. And the final question is that, is AI making us self-reliant? And is it affecting the relationships? And also, is it affecting the teamwork or enjoying to do the work as a team member?
That's a very, very interesting question. So the objective of the AI is to augment human beings to do better things. That is the actual objective of having these intelligent systems in place. So the objective is not to really disrupt the collaboration, disrupt the teamwork, etc. The idea here is that we already have teamwork, we already have collaboration. the only thing is that we are going to have new members or new systems coming together along with us in this collaboration. So we also have a new member or a new friend in the form of AI or in this new systems. So the collaboration, as I mentioned in one of my slides, it has to be an ecosystem driven. It has to be a teamwork driven. It has to be relationship driven. The only thing AI may not be really matured very fast is the empathetical side of the AI, the empathetical side of the human relationship. So it will become cognitive, but how soon it can become empathetical is a very, very big question, which is obviously driven by human beings, by relationship as well as teamwork. I think it is a very, very important aspect that how to really implement AI in the right phase. As I mentioned there, we should be having that as a very important point to consider while having the relationship or the teamwork or the collaboration.
So, there's another question. 10 years from now, AI growing so fast, will total number of software engineers needed be lesser?
Yeah, so see different aspects. Okay, so 15-20 years back, if you learn a technology, that technology will be there for at least 10 years. You can, Tally or SAP or Java kind of a .NET kind of a systems. Today, one technology's life itself is about 6 months. So in 6 months, you will see a new technology. And 20 years back, one new technology to come into the market, it was taking years. Today, hundreds of technologies are coming every day, right? So whether it's cloud, whether it's IoT, whether it is analytics, whether it is blockchain, whether it is automation, you will see hundreds of technologies, hundreds of different product vendors. So definitely you need a huge workforce to manage all these technologies. And it is only going to increase the job opportunities. It's only going to have more requirements for techno-savvy people. And this is where the need of the domain specialists also have to be a technical expert or to have technical exposure to manage these kind of systems. And if you're not upskilling yourself, if you're not reskilling yourself with the traditional, the modern or new age systems, and that is where you'll become obsolete. Now, if somebody is saying, I was a shorthand expert long time back, I'm a typewriting A grade expert, I don't want to learn computer. Now, whatever the certificates I have in typewriting is absolutely no use today. So this is where I should be upgrading, upskilling, reskilling, learning how to use my typing expertise into the computer. And then you should know how to use a computer, right? And that is where the new learning has to come. So if you upskill yourself, if you reskill yourself, if you learn new things, definitely you will be relevant. And instead of 3 lakh present jobs, you will see 30 lakh jobs out there.
I think the query is cleared. And moving to the last question, is AI more intelligent than humans?
Definitely AI is more intelligent than humans in certain areas, but not in all areas. See, just like the way artificial intelligence, machines are also learning to get this intelligence to become intelligent. They have to learn, right? Just like the way human beings. So humans naturally born with intelligence and insights, but experienced over a period of time, learned over a period of time, we become mature and we become conscious. We know how to use our knowledge and experience and data to take decisions. Same way, machines also have to learn. But the good thing is actually machines now have a bigger bandwidth, bigger processing capability. It can learn faster than human beings, but it has to be taught, right? And that is where the machine learning models are in place. So can we teach everything to a machine from all aspects, just like the way human being? It is not possible. At least we don't have the people to really do that, right? So that is where the opportunity, and that is where everyone will contribute to this new change in the system. So lawyers have to work with AI systems to create intelligent intelligent AI for legal systems. Doctors and nurses work together with IBM IBM engineering team to create Watson, a medical AI system. So doctors and AI will be working with intelligent systems.
So one more question is there. Will teachers be replaced by AI and robots?
I think if teachers are not upskilling and reskilling themselves, definitely teachers will be replaced by AI. Absolutely, there is no doubt about that. And there are already schools in India itself, there are so many schools where they launched cognitive teachers, robotic teachers. And it is not necessary that a teacher will come in the form of a robot all the time. Okay. It can be just like a software like Byju's, right? I don't know whether Byju's uses AI in the background. It can be even the form of a small app, or it can be in the form of a real robot by itself.
So with that, we conclude the question answer session. I am sure that all the doubts are cleared now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. So now I invite our Vice Principal, Dr. Matthew Paul, to address the gathering and to make the concluding remarks. Sir, please.
Good afternoon to all. Applied intelligence or artificial intelligence is the most relevant topic to be discussed in the present scenario. I think today's seminar on developing a future workforce for applied intelligence and future systems driven finance, HR, marketing and operations is a successful one today. Our resource person, Mr. Philip Verghese from the Accenture Technology is an apt person for this seminar. I am sure the audience have received inputs and insights about the topic and understood the importance of AI in the current business world. I wholeheartedly appreciate the initiatives of the Commerce Department to come up with such a relevant topic. They have been instrumental in bringing about such wonderful webinars and prepare themselves ready for industry requirements. On behalf of the Sahardaya College of Advanced Studies, Kodagara, I thank Mr. Philip Verghese, Vice President and Lead Cyber Defense and Applied Intelligence, Accenture Technology, for being the resource person for this wonderful webinar. Thank you, sir. I also thank the head of the Department of Commerce, Professor V.J. Thomas, Dr. Karuna K. Nair, Professional Coordinator of the Department, and all other faculty members of Commerce for making this webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I invite Dr. Hannah Joseph, Program Coordinator, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me express my deepest sense of gratitude to our resource person, Mr. Philip Verghese, for the wonderful session. I'm pretty sure that the webinar was full of knowledge and interesting facts and gave deep insights into the topic. Mr. Philip talked about how companies should transform themselves to survive in the competitive environment and how the world is going to change with the advent of technology and the relevance of cognitive smart devices being the primary point of contact with business for the customer, and the customer intimacy becoming the essential driver for business to survive, which is really an eye-opener. He cited so many real-life examples and shared pictures and videos to arouse curiosity and interest among the participants. I'm sure it was interesting, entertaining, and at the same time informative to all of us. And today, I must mention, it is his 400th public speaking session, and that is a huge number. Congratulations, sir, and thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule and enlightening us with knowledge. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank our Executive Director, Reverend Father Dr. Davis Chengnyadan, for delivering the inaugural address. Thank you so much, Father, for your able administration, guidance, and true leadership. I'd like to acknowledge my gratitude to our principal, Dr. Pierre Jensen, for all the support extended to us to make this event happen. Thank you, sir. I must mention our deep sense of gratitude to our vice principals, Dr. Matthew Paul and Dr. Rani NG, and to Matthew Paul, sir, for delivering the concluding remarks and for the constant support and encouragement throughout. Thank you so much. I take this opportunity to thank our dear participants for your active participation and enormous cooperation to make this event happen. Thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity to place on record our heartfelt gratitude to the technical team of Sahidya College of Advanced Studies, Mr. Ranjit, Mr. Ashwin, Ms. Jisna, Mr. Destil and Mr. Tito for the perfect support and coordination extended to all of us. I also thank Vismaya for her contribution to the event. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheel started rolling days ago. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by our head of the department, Professor Vijay Thomas, course coordinator Dr. Karna K. Nair, and a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues of Commerce Department whose guidance, commitment, and hard work have resulted to make this event a reality. Thank you so much, everyone, from the bottom of my heart. Once again, thanking everyone, I conclude.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, we have come to the end of the webinar. The feedback form will be mailed to all the participants. Kindly fill up the feedback form to receive the certificates. Thank you.
Thank you so much.